Onaizame 1, 2, 3, and 4 are Navy contracted ships. In running the operation, the resupply, we have a command and control team on the bridge of Onaizame. The bridge is the center of all activity when a ship is underway. The commander of Western Command was on the bridge of Onaizame 4. He was there when the windshield was shattered. He did not incur any injury. He was there to ensure that this tactical action will not spiral out of control and it may have strategic implications. I mentioned earlier that when the stakes are high, it's a naval and a military practice for our commanders to lead from the front. Not only are you increasing the morale of the men, but you would like to be assured that in case of any untoward incident, it will not spiral out of control.
Just to add, Jim,
from ABS-CBN.
wait, let me just add, Jim, to our answer to this question. Both sides have mentioned that they want to de-escalate tensions. But unfortunately, we were also surprised about what happened there in Ayungin Shoal yesterday. Because we thought that we were turning the page already. So our call really is for the Chinese government to match their words with actions. Because they say they want to meet us halfway, they say they want a win-win solution, they say they want to steer a new course for Philippine and Chinese bilateral relations and resolve this matter of maritime issues in a peaceful manner. But we need to see these words translated into actions on the ground. But this, of course, will not stop the Philippines from continuing engaging with China. As the President has said repeatedly, even in the face of aggression and provocation, we'll have to engage and continue to talk to the PRC. So we are not closing our doors. Our desire is to keep engaging with them. But if China desires some improvement or progress in resolving this maritime dispute in a peaceful and orderly manner, we demand that they match their words with their actions.
Sir, good afternoon. Sir, we are already on our second year of implementing the Assertive Transparency Initiative, which we've seen has garnered the support of and the condemnation from the international community. But is this strategy, our transparency initiative strategy, enough when we put it against the more physical and aggressive tactics by China as seen in the recent mission?
Well, Bianca, first of all, we don't call it assertive transparency. As what with ADG Malaya has keep on mentioning, we don't have to be very assertive for us to be transparent. What we're doing is that we just have a measured transparency. The question is, are we effective in attaining our objectives with the transparency strategy that we did launch since last year? I think for us to respond to that question, we have to look at what are the objectives of the transparency strategy. I've been mentioning this a lot of times. The first one is for us to create awareness to the Filipino people. Right now, with the current survey result, they were saying that more than 70% now supports the approach of the Philippine government in the West Philippine Sea. Second objective of the transparency strategy is to rally support from the international community. We can know for a fact that more countries now are engaging our country, criticizing, condemning provocative actions of China, and also expressing their commitment to support the modernization of the armed forces of the Philippines, to deepening the defense cooperation that we have. So, if we're going to measure it, how effective we are now, I think we have already gained the objectives, achieved the objectives, and accomplished it well. But if you're going to ask how the transparency strategy affect the behavior of China, I think that is not for us to answer. Definitely, nobody would really say that whatever strategy you're going to carry out, whether diplomatic, whether you talk to them or whatever, they would always choose to do provocative actions in the West Philippine Sea. But we are hoping that with the international community's criticism and condemnation of their illegal acts and provocative behavior, we can be able to make China modify their behavior and choose to abide with international law and ensure the status quo and maintain the global order that we are all enjoying.
Yes, also, the South China Sea issue and challenging issue, and there's no one fix. You have a strategy, but there's none. It has to be a collection of efforts to address it across different fronts, whether it be in terms of diplomacy, public diplomacy, law enforcement, and regulation. There has to be a collective effort on the part of the country. Point one. The second point that I'd like to stress is the South China Sea is not South China Sea issue is not just an issue that concerns the Philippines. It is also an issue that concerns our neighbors and the entire world. When countries, for example, rules-based international believe in a rules-based international order to act, to expose and oppose these moves, and to call back all countries to the UN Convention on the Law of the Sea, as well as the 2016 Arbitral Tribunal Award, that actually is a legal and binding award that actually also already said that China's 9-dash line has no legal basis. China claims the entire South China Sea, including parts of the high seas in the Chinese waters. This actually overturns centuries of development of international law, culminating in the 1982 UNCLOS, the universal and unified character to which countries are actually accepted by the international countries. So we, on our part, should actually seek the support of like-minded countries that believe that the rules-based international law is something that we all should apply, and that not one country should actually determine what law would apply in a particular region, and not one country's interpretation of that law should apply to all, and to those countries in the region. So I think we should also widen our perspective. Yes, it concerns us, but we should also say that it does not just concern the Philippines, it concerns other countries, because it's already a question of whether we're observing the rules-based international order.
Up next, we have from PTV4, ma'am, at the back.
Hello po. For my question, maybe AFP can answer. Regarding lang po sa USS Mobile LCS 26, do they have any role po ba on the recent RORE mission? Kasi nakita daw po yung USS Navy ship last Monday near the vicinity of Ayungin Shoal.
We have to take into consideration that this happened in the Philippines territorial EEZ. So these are open waters. So they are exercising their right towards freedom of navigation. So their presence there could mean that they were there for any reason that deemed necessary for them.
Okay po, thank you.
Up next, we have from IBC News.
Good afternoon, good officials. Earl Tobias, IBC News 13. Yung sa akin lang po, kanina I covered former Associate Justice of Supreme Court, Antonio Carpio, nasabi niya na ang China nga daw ay nagkakaroon ng PR war, or they trying to win the West Philippine Sea without firing a single bullet by misinformation and disinformation. And evidently po, under the published in the Foreign Ministry's spokesperson site ng China, they called Philippines as the one who was defined or bordered by treaties. And sinabi rin po nila, on their word, the Philippines arbitrarily went beyond its territorial scope to set up the so-called Kalayaan Island Group, which has violated China's territorial sovereignty. This is illegal, null, and void. Ano pong reaction natin sa pilit nilang pagsasabi na null and void ng ating 2016 claim na nanalo po tayo dito sa ating sariling territorio? Thank you.
China has a lot of narratives, and we really have to be very careful, because if we mount it and we give them the platform to actually present their narratives, more people will believe in it. And that's the reason why the government is earnest in trying to present its position, and that's the reason why the National Task Force has actually come and tried to present the perspective relative to what happens in the South China Sea. I'll give you one good narrative. They keep on debunking the award, the arbitral award. And they say that the arbitral award is supposed to, because their claim is based on historic rights. They keep on saying that they own the waters because of historic rights. But the award has already debunked it, that the claim based on historic rights is both illegal and void. Then they say, because they did not participate and because of that, then there's no basis in terms of the award. But clearly, they were given the opportunity, and the arbitral award also made mention that they were in any dispute. For example, I'll state here, it's provided in Article 9 of the Annex 2, which provides that if one party to the dispute does not appear before the arbitral award or fails to defend its case, the other party may request the tribunal to continue the proceeding and make its award, which is what the Philippines did. The absence of a party or failure of a party to defend its case shall not constitute a bar to the proceedings, which is exactly what happened. Before making its award, the arbitral tribunal satisfied that it had jurisdiction over the dispute and that the claim is well-founded in fact and law. And then they say that, of course, they own the entire area, that the fishing activities by Chinese fishing boats and waters, what they're doing in terms of regulation and enforcement, are legitimate and lawful and beyond reproach. But we're saying that would be legitimate if they were in their EEZ. But they're not in their EEZ. They're a big distance away from the EEZ. They are in our EEZ. And because of that, it is us who will determine what we will do in our EEZ, is it not? So there are many narratives that come out, and it's important for all of us in the Philippines, from government to the private sector and to the media, to actually question the narratives that are being posted on us and raised and actually repeated in the hope that it will garner support.
One follow-up question, sir.
Following that up lang po, in the words of former Justice Carpio, in relevance nga po sa disinformation na pilit na ginagamit ng China against us, sinabi niya na the only choice we have the support of the world because we have the arbitral award. If we can convince our allies to lobby for us, specifically in UN, China should be condemned strongly. Statement lang rin po natin.
We are working very hard. We are working very hard to seek the support of the international community. Kanina it was asked, is the transparency policy just our single strategy in resolving this problem? No, it's not. No? The transparency policy is just one aspect of what we do. No, and we thank the international community, particularly the countries that have spoken in favor of the Philippines. But there are other countries that we also need to talk to and seek their support. And that is precisely what government is doing right now. Through the transparency policy, we are showing to the world what's happening in the West Philippine Sea. And we are showing to the entire world that China does not respect international law. And its non-respect to the international law poses a problem for all nations in the world. Because international law is the great equalizer. So yes, in answer to your question, as mentioned by Justice Carpio, it is important for the Philippines to keep on engaging other nations so that we can get more nations to support us in our fight for the West Philippine Sea.
Up next, we have from Philippine Daily Inquirer.
Good afternoon. I'm Nestor Corrales from the Philippine Daily Inquirer. May I know what's the President Marcos' reaction to this latest collision incident? Because we haven't heard from him since yesterday, but the day before the incident happened, he told an Australian broadcaster that a mistake in the South China Sea could lead to an outright conflict, saying that, I quote, the potential for outright conflict is much higher now than it was before.
The National Security Advisor is with the President right now in Australia, and since he's there, he has regularly updated the President of everything that's happening in the West Philippine Sea. there is media together with the President in Melbourne, and I think they will have an opportunity to ask the President directly on what his reaction is to this incident. We cannot speak for the President, but I think the media will have that opportunity, especially those who are part of the Malacanang Press Couriers in Australia, to ask that President directly to him. But let me assure everyone that the President has been apprised by the NSA personally on what is happening and what has happened in the West Philippine Sea.
Next, we have from Inquirer.net.
Good afternoon po. This question is addressed to Ambassador Daza and NTG Malaya. We understand that the MDT is still subject to consultation, but may we ask if the possible invocation of the MDT is now being discussed between Manila and Washington after this incident?
No, may I just refer to my previous statement on the matter? The invocation of the Mutual Defense Treaty is a serious matter that requires consultations between both parties. And given that this is something that is discussed on higher levels, we cannot comment at this time.
Sorry, sir. Sorry to press, but can we say that it is not yet clear because in previous incidents, we said that the MDT could not be invoked yet. But what's different this time po kaya, sir?
May I again refer to my previous answer? No? This is a very sensitive matter, and I think this matter is better addressed by higher authorities. Suffice it to say that consultations are being conducted between the Philippines and the United States over this issue.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir. Up next, we have from Kyodo News.
I'd like to ask about Unaiza May 1. Despite while the Unaiza May 4 was intensively attacked by water cannon simultaneously and also collided, Unaiza May 1 was not collided and water cannon is correct. And please tell me why, how do you analyze the reason why Unaiza May 1 was not so much?
We have from Commodore Trinidad, sir.
The Philippine Navy, Naval Forces West, and Western Command, and for that matter, the entire armed forces, when we do military operations, we always have alternate plans. Unaiza May 1 and Unaiza May 4 were both there to reprovision and to rotate the troops. Either one of them that could have accomplished the mission would already be mission accomplishment for us. In this case, it was Unaiza May 1 that was able to reach LT 57. So we could say that the reprovisioning and the rotation of troops was a successful mission. As to any analysis, your guess could be as good as mine why they were not hit by water cannon.
I just would like to add to the response of Commodore Trinidad. If your question is why Unaiza May 1 was not water cannon and Unaiza May 4 was the only one that was water cannon, is that your question? Yes. So on our part, for the Philippine Coast Guard, since we were tasked to escort the Unaiza Mays, the only main reason is that it's a random thing. You know, Philippine Coast Guard and the Unaiza May was not really selective. We believe that it's not clearly pinpointed by the Chinese that we're going to water cannon today Unaiza May 4, and this time we're going to allow Unaiza May 1. With the dangerous maneuver that they are doing and dangerous blocking of the Coast Guard vessels and their supply boats, it just so happened that for this particular operation, it was only Unaiza May 1 that were able to outmaneuver the Chinese Coast Guard and the Chinese Maritime Militia. And it is unfortunate that Unaiza May 4 became a target for the Chinese Coast Guard for a water cannon attack.
Do you think
Sorry, sir. We have to limit to one follow-up question only, sir. We'll be moving on to the next news. Okay, sir.
Do you think that Chinese side knew that the West Point commander was on board Unaiza May 4?
I could not speculate on whether they knew. He was on board, hence the water cannon attack on Unayzame 4. I could not speculate on that, yes.
Again, I would like to amplify my response to your second question that it is not clearly pinpointed which vessel that they're going to water cannon. It is just a result of the dangerous maneuver and outmaneuvering of the Unayzames.
Thank you, sir. Up next, we have from GG Press. At the back. Thank you.
Hi, good afternoon. I'm Joanna Balyaran from GG Press. My first question po addressed to Commodore Tariela. Sir, the collisions are getting more and more frequent. Do you think these collisions are deliberate? And do you think it's now the new strategy of China to, destroy the ships of the Philippines so that there will be downtime and there's nothing to, or at least very limit the use of these boats in patrolling the West Philippine Sea?
Well, I don't want to speculate about the strategy of China in countering our resupply operation. But here's one thing is certain. For the past so many months, we have been already warning the Chinese Coast Guard that they need to abide with the collision regulations and also to adhere to all of these provisions to prevent such accident from happening. And unfortunately, they have been still doing this, doing dangerous maneuver, blocking operation, which resulted to this kind of accident. So I don't want to speculate that this is their strategy now to really destroy our supply boats, as what you're probably mentioning. So again, we still don't know their specific strategy, whether it is really their plan or they are just completely doing whatever they're doing since we started the resupply operation.
Thank you, sir. My second question po is addressed to ADG Malaya. Sir, you mentioned po kanina that the Philippines is going to talk to other countries to seek support from other countries that haven't, expressed outright support to the Philippines on the West Philippine Sea issue. What are these countries po, and how would you assess the support of the international community to the Philippines on this issue?
I was just reacting to the comment of Justice Carpio that it's important for the Philippines to secure international support. And I replied that we agree. And it has been the position of the Department of Foreign Affairs and the Philippine government that we should continually work with the international community because we're fighting for essential values, basic values that every country must adhere to. In particular, the primacy of the rules-based international order and the primacy of international law in multilateral relations. So it is that context that I said that we need to talk to more countries. To answer to your question about how we gauge the success of the Philippines in securing support, we were so happy to immediately receive yesterday statements of support from so many countries, from Japan, from the United States, from Australia, from Germany, from United Kingdom, from Australia. So many countries expressed their support. So I think if we ask where is the Philippines now in securing the support of countries, yes, we have strong international support, and that is shown by the increasing partnerships we're having with many countries in the world. Japan and Australia, for example, have increased their partnerships with us to the level of strategic partnership, and we are getting more and more statements coming from other countries that they would like this matter resolved in a peaceful manner and that they support the Philippine position.
Thank you. Up next, we have from NHK Japan.
Thank you for taking my questions. I have simply questions that the Philippines added on some advanced measurements on this solo mission this time. Why I ask this because I remember that last year's December there was almost like the same kind of the case incidents happens, and afterwards that the Philippines has now considering to add on some advanced measurements for the next level missions. But somehow, like today, I see all the briefings, but I didn't see like any like upgrades. The same numbers of the vessels you provided, and almost like the same times, almost in the same like tactics. So actually, is this the same? I mean, like there's no any advanced measurements.
You were asking about any changes or advanced measures applied for this particular mission. Western Command conducts regular troop rotation and reprovisioning for our 9 island detachments. It is a normal activity. There were no changes except probably for the presence of May 4, which just came from repair. So it's just a normal activity, no major changes.
I would add to that it's not just this feature that we are doing regular RORE operations. All of our features and islands, we do regular RORE operations. It's the same the whole time. It's a regular thing for the Armed Forces of the Philippines.
Up next, we have from Taiwan.
Hello, sirs and madams. Central News Agency from Taiwan. I'm wondering because we read about the president said that the Philippines will push back if its sovereign rights is ignored in the West Philippine Sea. And now we are seeing 4 military personnel got minor injuries during the incident. So I don't know if we are discussing some kind of measures or different strategies to further next or following missions, so we can change this kind of escalating situation. Thank you.
We have put into the perspective that the mission that was conducted was a regular rotation and resupply mission. So it's happening all over in all of the features and the islands that within our territorial waters. So we are there. The Armed Forces of the Philippines will continue to do resupply and conduct morale and welfare activities to all of our troops in the different features.
But I'm wondering because this time we got 4 personnel injured and there's a possibility that might be more personnel got injured in the future. So I don't know if we have some prevent measures or some kind of strategy to prevent this kind of situation happening again.
These are the operational matters. Of course, everything will be taken into consideration, and we will tweak our operations accordingly. But these are items that we cannot be able to discuss. Thank you.
Up next, we have from NHK Philippines.
Good afternoon, Celerina Monte from NHK. Just one a soundbite regarding the earlier statement that about these 4 personnel who were injured. Could you say that this was so far the most severe incident that, or the first case that happened during those missions that have taken place?
Well, if you remember, there was this incident last year involving the Philippine Coast Guard wherein there were a military grade laser was pointed at the Philippine Coast Guard vessel, which led to the temporary blindness of 2 of our personnel. And now it's this incident that happened yesterday where there's 4 minor injuries as a result of the glass windshield shattering. No? That's why there were minor injuries. So if the question is this the most serious? Yes, because now we have minor injuries that has happened to our troops. That is why at the beginning of this press conference, we prefaced our statement by saying that we would like peaceful relations with China. We are prepared to do what is necessary to resolve this territorial dispute. Sorry, to resolve whatever maritime differences we have in the West Philippine Sea. But China must go beyond words alone. No? They must back up their words with concrete action because it is important for both countries to turn the page insofar as our routinary missions to Ayungin is concerned.
Sir, do you expect the future missions to be like worse than, would continue to worsen? It would further escalate. And if ever, what preparations would the government do?
Yeah, it's difficult to speculate on what will happen. That is why we wish that these incidents don't happen anymore, and that is why we are asking China, because they have repeatedly said that they want to settle this matter in a peaceful way. They want to steer a different course for Philippine-China relations, and it's as critical that their actions match what they say. So we are hopeful that we will be able to resolve these differences in a peaceful manner.
Was there any discussion or recommendation from the NTF, from the task force for the president, like to visit our troops in those areas that we claim?
The National Task Force West Philippine Sea has not yet convened in relation to this incident because the NSA is in Australia with the president.
Up next, we have from Daily Manila Shimbun.
Magandang hapon po, ako po si Takishka from Daily Manila Shimbun. So now, China's aggressive actions are worsening and worsening. And so, do you want any physical support, not only verbal support, from your allies such as US, Australia, and Japan regarding Rore?
Even without this incident, there are already discussions with other like-minded navies from like-minded nations, considering that there's a lot of capability the Philippine Navy needs when it comes to the West Philippine Sea. So we don't have to anchor it on what just recently transpired for the support from other countries to come in.
I would like to add to that, we also have different MOUs with like-minded nations, and it's our hope that these MOUs escalate towards VFAs.
One follow-up. Is it a good idea that while the Philippines is conducting Rore resupply mission, your allies, like-minded countries, are conducting freedom of navigation operation or sailing or patrolling?
Okay. The Rore missions to Ayungin Shoal, just like any Rore mission conducted by the Philippines, is a Philippine affair. No, it's conducted by Philippine troops utilizing Philippine vessels supported by Philippine assets. No? But of course, there are always the possibility that we can accept support from other countries. But right now, the position of the Philippines is we conduct these resupply missions purely a Philippine affair. But we are open in the future to receiving whatever support the Philippines deems necessary. No? But I guess we will just have to cross the bridge when we get there.
At this point, we will be only getting from last two agencies, which will be Balitang A to Z and Bombo Radyo Pilipinas.
Check. Ma'am, good afternoon. This question is intended for Ambassador Daza. Ambassador, nireject na po ng China yung diplomatic protest na inahain ng Pilipinas in connection doon sa water cannon incident kahapon. We would like to know your take on that kasi ang sabi nila, tutuloy pa rin nila yung pag-water cannon sa mga tropa ng Pilipinas doon sa Ayungin Shoal hanggat nagpapatuloy yung resupply mission.
if what you're saying is that they're going to continue water cannoning, then that's actually serious. But I don't know. I have not read what was said. But I think ang importante ay we lodge our protest, and it's expected that they will also come up with their position, isn't it? But the important thing is for us to explain exactly what happened in our EEZ and why we think it's significant for us, serious enough for us to tell China to please cease and desist in actions that are violative of international law, that put to risk not only property, not only vessels, but also possible injury in terms of personnel.
Follow-up question. Ma'am, to date, ilan na po ba yung diplomatic protest na inahin ng Pilipinas laban sa China tungkol sa usapin na to? And is there any other alternative legal remedies maliban po doon sa arbitral ruling na hawak ng Pilipinas para maprotektahan mo yung yung soberanya ng Pilipinas laban sa water cannon incident? Thank you.
Okay, in terms of figures, as of end of February, there are about 9 for the year 2024 protests that have actually already been issued. But if you count the protests also in terms of the summoning, that makes it 10. So in terms of under the president, it's 142 in total since he assumed. Now, yes, protest comes in different forms. Maraming klaseng protesta. Protesta in terms of one, pwede mong tawagan at sabihin na hindi tama yung ginagawa mo. Pangalawa, pwede mong sabihin na magsulat ka based on in terms of send a note verbal. You can also actually summon, which has also been undertaken. So maraming possibility in terms of protest. That's one kind of diplomatic action. A protest is one kind of diplomatic action. But it's not the only diplomatic action that's undertaken by the Philippines. And if you notice, we're actually trying to deepen our relations with like-minded countries. We're also trying to broaden, not only expand in terms of like-minded countries, but deepen with those who are already our friends. That's second. The third is in terms of the regional order. We've actually continued to work with ASEAN so that there will be an early conclusion with the code of conduct. So maraming diplomatic action na nangyari. And for example, what happened in terms of the visit in Australia, the President witnessed the signing of 3 very important agreements. That's another diplomatic action where we are actually trying to go beyond protests. We're trying to see how we can actually deepen partnership with other countries. And here, and in response to your question, many times when we actually engage with other countries, it's not because we're pointing a finger at another country. It's because there are certain needs that the country needs, and that we're trying to see if other countries can actually support us in the process.
Up next, we have Bombo Radio Pilipinas.
Hello po, good afternoon po. Marlene po from Bombo Radio Philippines. Kay Commodore Trinidad po, may konting clarifications lang po ako about po doon sa, ano po ba yung mga grounds natin para masabi natin dapat at hindi pa dapat umaksyon yung Philippine Navy kapag may mga ganitong klaseng insidente sa West Philippine Sea. Kaya po ngayon, may 4 na po nga nasaktan doon po sa ating misyon.
I mentioned earlier the rules of engagement. These govern the actions of our operating troops. The call when to escalate is on the commander on the ground. That's why we had the commander of Westcom to ensure that things will not escalate beyond control. But rest assured that the Philippine Navy and the armed forces are prepared to save life and property, subject to the bounds of the rules of engagement and international law.
Sir, to be specific po, ano po ba talaga yung ating parang pamantayan para malaman kung kailan talaga dapat tayo papasok doon? Kasi may mga nasasaktan na po sa ginagawa po ng China.
Yes, yun naman ay napapaloob sa rules of engagement and when to escalate or de-escalate. And the call is left to the ground commander.
Okay. Last question na lang po on my part.
Sorry, ma'am, we have to cut you off. We only limit to 1 question only. Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
And at this point, sir, we are now going to close our...
Thank you. Thanks, sir. Actually, my question is to Commodore Trinidad. What kind of injuries were sustained by the personnel? Because they were described as minor. What exactly are they? And to ADG Malaya, you mentioned that consultations are ongoing on the MDT. Are these consultations triggered by what happened yesterday, or are these part of ongoing consultations between the two? Yeah. Thank you.
They suffered minor cuts. Minor cuts. Minor cuts. Yeah.
Yung MDT question, sir.
Much as I'd like to answer your question, no, I cannot answer the question due to national security concerns. No, suffice it to say that these matters are very sensitive. Therefore, we would rather not make a comment at this time.
One follow-up. Just a quick follow-up. Ambassador Tess, as this press con is ongoing, the ASEAN and the Australia Special Summit came out with a statement, and the statement read that we encourage all countries to avoid any unilateral actions that endanger peace, security, and stability in the region, particularly the South China Sea. During the meetings and in the retreat, did the president make interventions that raised the incident that happened in Ayungin Shoal, and how does the Philippines view this kind of statement being incorporated in the statement following the summit? Thank you.
I don't have the readout yet in terms of the visit. Suffice it to say, and as mentioned earlier, it's safe to assume that the South China Sea issue is actually something that will be raised. And in terms of the discussion, whether specific incidents were actually discussed and raised, I have no information at this point.
Last one question, sir, from AFP News.
Good afternoon, Ambassador. Yesterday, we summoned the Deputy Chief of Mission of the Chinese Embassy. I was wondering why we did not summon the Ambassador himself. Is there any symbolism to be read in there? Do we still recognize him, the Ambassador? Or have we sent him home? That's why he wasn't there yesterday.
I don't know the whereabouts of the ambassador. I think you should check the embassy relative to the whereabouts and his activities. But I think the more important thing is not... the Deputy Chief of Mission was in the FA. The protest was lodged and told him, was conveyed to him. The protest was conveyed to him. The important thing is actually that we protested the incident, and that it was received, and that it was also echoed in our posts in Beijing. So that, I think, is important. We didn't let it go. We didn't wait. The incident happened in March 5, and we actually acted on it. So I think that's the more important thing. I'm not in the position to actually give significance to... I'm not in the position to...
Thank you.
I think this is a question that is in everybody's mind. Just to be clear with China, and just to be clear with the forces of the AFP and all the actors that are involved in the South China Sea, can you just generally tell us what is the threshold, what is the red line that China cannot cross, so that you would, if they cross it, you would elevate your actions to a higher level of response? So China would know clearly, what would trigger you, what would trigger the Philippines to take a stronger action, diplomatically or otherwise.
Ayungin Shoal and Bajo de Masinloc have been declared as red lines. There will be no building or reclamation on Bajo de Masinloc. There will be no removing of LS-57 from Ayungin Shoal. These have been declared by the previous administration that these are red lines for the Philippines, for the armed forces, or rather for the Philippine government. On escalation at the ground, the rules of engagement governs the actions when to come in to save life and property, and we leave it to the ground commander when to use the appropriate rules of engagement.
quickly related to that, no, Commodore Trinidad, if Philippine forces somehow have to defend themselves and use military action in an unexpected emergency situation, how high is the level of approval and clearance? Yeah, that will it go up to the president, to the Westcom commander, or to General Bronner? Can you give us an idea?
In the framing of the rules of engagement, we have consulted guidance of the President and the National Command authorities. The ROE does not infringe upon the right of self-defense or the right to protect life and property.
Yes, sir. Thank you, everyone. And close our press conference. We would like to thank our resource persons for today.
Ha?